Meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, Mayor Kratzky, I am here. Moko.
Present.
Groko. Present. Kufal.
Present.
Padilla, he is absent tonight, and Eager. Here. Take a moment to consider tonight's agenda. We do have an addition under new business. We'll add it under 11J, the pay equity report. Are there any other changes? Then we'll take a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, January 3rd, 2024.
So moved.
We have a motion by Eager.
Second.
Seconded by Kufal. Any other comments or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Comments, updates, concerns? Do we have any citizens here that would like to speak tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to council members. Any updates from, did you have something?
I just had one real quick
Okay.
comment, I guess, regarding the shortfalls with the, RS Fiber annual shortfall payments that Gaylord has to deliver. I sat down and talked with Steve about it, and, I was wondering if the council had any interest with at least contacting the other 10 cities that are involved in this. And, kind of banding together and then go communicate to the RS Fiber Cooperative Board, because it doesn't sound like over the years we've ever had transparent financials provided. But we sure know how much money we paid. And, this goes out to 2037, I believe Steve said, somewhere around there, if the shortfall payments, if things don't get better. But now with New Vera coming through with their new fiber line in Arlington, they're starting to, from what I understand, they're sniping off RS Fiber Air customers. Again, don't have any data because they don't provide all this stuff to us in a monthly report. But if all 10 cities would band together and then we approach the co-op, we should be getting better data, better numbers, and because maybe the cities need to put pressure on the co-op to maybe investigate, maybe selling, pushing the cooperative to at least look into selling their infrastructure. If we're gonna sit here and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for the next 13, 14 years, at least we should look into this. But just a comment, maybe we can have a future discussion, council on it.
Any other thoughts or comments about that? I like the idea of transparency. This could cost us a lot of money down the road, so I think we should be proactive, and I think that's a really good idea.
How about if this is the first some of you are hearing this, so maybe I could just put it on the future agenda, and you guys can have a discussion about it more in depth.
Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Anything else? Any comments from city staff?
I just wanted to mention, it's in your list of meetings coming up, but the annual fire and EMS meeting with the townships is going to be on February 1st this year. It's a Thursday, 7 o'clock. We're going to be meeting at the fire hall this year because of the new truck they want to show, and then just the cleaning that they did in the bay. And just for information, in reference to the new truck, the townships all paid their portion of what for the truck, so that's done. So everything's been paid for the truck.
That's great.
So nobody decided to go on a payment schedule or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then next we have our consent agenda, and take a motion to approve the consent agenda for tonight.
So moved.
A motion by Groko,
Second.
seconded by Moko. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We don't have any public hearings scheduled for tonight. We have a few communications, requests, and petitions from Century League, RS Fiber, Emmanuel Lutheran Church Pancake Dinner, the Senior Center newsletter, and the Gaylord and Fire Ambulance Annual Meeting Notice. Moving on to department and committee reports and action items. The first thing on the agenda is 9C, the Public Works Department, to declare the 2005 pickup truck as surplus property, and we'll invite Ty up to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. Like Dawn said, the reason we're here is to, when we purchased the 2021 Ford F-150 in December, to replace our 2004 Ford F-150, now we just need to asking the council to declare the 2004 Ford F-150 as surplus property. It would be sold on the surplus services site like we've sold a bunch of stuff the last couple of years. We're recommending that we put $1,000 reserve on the truck.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to declare the 2004 Ford F-150.
Second.
Motion by Moko, motion by Eker, seconded by Moko. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is under Fire Department, 9FI, Fire Department Officer Appointments. So we're just,
Justin's not here this evening, but in your packet there on page 51 is the list of officers that are being proposed. So just real quickly, Fire Chief would continue to be Justin Rose. Assistant Fire Chief, this would be a change, Andrew Trout. Secretary, Nate Eker, and then Treasurer, Jerry Hahn. Those two positions would be the same.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
motion by Moko, seconded by Eker. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Next, under 9H, City Engineer, we have our 2024 agreement for professional services.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Justin Black with SEH. And on page 53 of the packet is the agreement that we've provided to the city. This is the same agreement that we had last year, an hourly contract to provide city engineering services. And this is for the day-to-day city engineering tasks, and we listed some of those in the letter that we complete for the city as requested. As mentioned, it's an hourly agreement, so the $20,000 fee limit is a maximum. I did take a look at this past year, and we invoiced about $11,000. So we've been well below that $20,000 mark the last couple of years. I guess with that being said, we've really enjoyed continuing to serve as a city engineer and being part of the community. As larger projects do come up, we do bring forth separate agreements for that work. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, the action would be just approving the agreement.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the 2024 agreement for professional services with SEH Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Groko, seconded by Kufal. Any further discussion?
Should be noted, this is all, directed by staff or city council. So this isn't like they're creating this work for themselves. It's all being directed towards them.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. We'll move on to resolution number 2024-1, the Stormwater Pond Riprap Project Bid Award.
So last Thursday, December 28th, we received 15 bids for the Stormwater Pond Riprap project. And I was mentioning to Steve that I guess for as long as I can recall, that's the most bids we've ever received on a project. So a lot of interest in the project. The bids range from a high of about $350,000 all the way down to a low bid from McNamara Contracting of $203,400 was a low bid. McNamara is out of Rosemont, Minnesota. The engineer's estimate was $262,300, so it was below our estimate. I did have a phone conversation with a representative of the company this morning. They're eager to get started. In fact, they, upon approval by the city council, they'll plan to start producing the riprap this week yet. So the granite rock will be sourced from Morton, Minnesota, is where that's coming from. And we would propose to hold a pre-construction meeting next week with the construction company. There is a substantial completion date. The end of February is a substantial completion date for the project. So So be happy to answer any questions, otherwise the action would be passing the resolution.
Do you have any experience with this company at all, or?
Yes, they have done some work with us before in the past. They're a pretty sizable company. They've got the equipment and personnel to do the work. Most recently, they were a subcontractor to a project that William Miller had, and they did some pipe work on the project and did a good job. So we don't have any reservations about moving forward with them.
And we're looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2024-1, awarding the bid to McNamara Contracting.
So moved.
Motion by Eker,
Seconded.
seconded by Groko. Any further discussion, comments, or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Justin.
Nothing under unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. 11A, resolution number 2024-2, relating to the organization of the city of Gaylord.
This is one of those items that we have to do at our first council meeting of the year. There are some items that are required under state statute that the council has to identify, specifically our official depositories. You have to designate a council president, also appoint an acting mayor. You have to identify who the city's official newspaper is going to be. Those are the main things under state statute, and also in our charter, it's required too.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-02.
Second.
Motion by Moko, seconded by Eker. Any discussion, questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. 11B, resolution 2024-3, Red Brick Properties LLC, conditional use permit.
Joshua Colonna, who's here this evening, he's the owner, does business as Red Brick Properties LLC. He's the owner of the property at 410 Main Avenue, which is directly across the street here from the City Hall. He's in the process of restoring the 6 apartment units on the second floor, and he's going to be renting those out as rental dwellings. The property itself is zoned as far as our downtown district, which is our B1. Apartment units are allowed, but they're allowed as a conditional use. So last month, December 13th, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on his application for such, and they are recommending approval. There is a resolution number 2024-03 in your packet, back on page 79. It does identify the conditions that the Planning and Zoning is proposing. Just to highlight some of the main ones. Basically, he'd have to provide adequate refuse for his tenants for the 6 units. He should also obtain a rental license from the city, just like any other rental property. That's a requirement. And any other permits, such as the building permit, which I understand he has applied for. So those are basically the main things. Again, this is just a requirement of our zoning code. This use is permitted. It's just permitted with a conditional use permit. So I'm not going through all the details that the Planning and Zoning went through. It's in your packet there, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer any. And again, Josh was here to answer any questions too.
Well, looks like a good plan.
Okay, anyone have any questions? If not, then we're looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2024-3, a resolution approving a conditional use permit for Red Brick Properties to rent and occupy 6 apartment units on the second floor building located at 410 Main Avenue.
So moved.
Motion by Kufal,
I'll second it.
seconded by Groko. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. 11C, resolution number 2024-04 is also related to Red Brick Properties, and this is regarding a variance.
Yes, thank you. This is in regards to off-street parking. Our zoning code does require for rental units for housing 1 1/2 parking spaces per unit. In this case, that would, being there's 6 units, that would equate to 9 parking stalls or spaces. Based on the space that he has available, which would be just on the side of the building, as it abuts 4th Street and the public alley. He would only be able to get in 6 parking spaces. In your packet, SEH actually looked at this upon my request and considered 3 different options. Again, trying to maximize the space as much as possible and try to meet the city's code requirements. They were only able to get in there 6, and that would be basically diagonally, or excuse me, 90-degree parking stalls along 4th Street there. So option number 3 in your packet of the aerials, and they kind of lay it out there. If you have any questions, I can go through the other ones too, but that was the only one of the 3 options that worked. Again, the Planning and Zoning held a public hearing on this last month, and they went through all that. And so basically, Resolution 2024-04 is in your packet. The conditions basically that would allow for 6 parking stalls, so that's the variance, establishing 1 parking space per unit. I will share, I did ask the Planning and Zoning if they felt that he should go ahead and paint some sort of markers for those individual spaces, and the Planning and Zoning said that they didn't feel that that was necessary. So as long as there's an understanding with him that there has to be 6 spaces, 1 for each unit, we should be okay. Other conditions include also that no other use of the parking lot areas permitted that may inhibit the the adequate room for ingress and egress and driving lanes for the tenants' vehicles. So they always need to have that free clearance that they can get in and out of there. And then also, again, he'd also have to make sure that the parking lot is clear of snow and other obstructions again, so they have that freedom to get in and out. So that always has to be available to them. Part of the resolution then is also to make this as an exhibit, this option number 3 that identifies or illustrates where those parking stalls will be located then. So that will be part of the resolution. Like the conditional use permit, these resolutions do get recorded with the property, so they do follow the property then. They'll follow that use then. Even if the ownership changes, they still follow the property. So again, I'll open up for any questions for myself, I guess Joshua too.
Historically, it's not a change that was living space once upon a time before, so historically, there's no change.
No, I do ask though, and this, he had talked about that. You guys have a rule on the 2nd floor of any downtown structure here requires a conditional use to have it as apartments. And we were talking before, it's extremely, extremely rare for any city to have that one. And so I would, if you guys wanted to remove that so we don't have to spend $500 to get a conditional use permit on apartments that are already up there, that'd be really great for anybody else that's trying to do any apartments or switches, because like anytime they sell now, if they didn't have it, he'll require that they come in and do that conditional use. If nobody had it for the last 50 years, if it switches ownership, now you have to come in and request that, which means it needs to get done beforehand, before they even get sold, or, in the transition process. But for a 2nd floor of a downtown of a city of this size, it's kind of the only thing you're gonna do with the building is put apartments up there anyway, so I don't know if it's just a polite request, I guess, for the next person that's working with the city, so.
We're just talking about parking though, to be clear.
What?
That issue isn't before the council. This is just about the parking variance.
Right.
Correct, no, I'm just as a suggestion. Yeah,
Something perhaps
Perhaps.
planning and zoning could look into.
we discussed it kind of at that time, and I just throwing that out there as kind of a look at, help out the rest of the people, so.
Okay.
With no other questions, we need a motion to approve resolution number 2024-04. A resolution approving a variance to the off-street parking space requirement for Red Brick Properties LLC, 410 Main Avenue, Gaylord.
So move.
Motion by Kufal. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any further discussion? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is 11D, Resolution 2024-05, establishing regular meetings of the Gaylord City Council for 2024.
So I included the three meetings that you had canceled last year in the resolution, which would be the second meeting in January, the first meeting in July, and the second meeting in December. Certainly can change that if you so choose, or add to it as you so choose to. But under our charter, we are required to meet at least monthly, once.
I like canceling those days just because of the proximity to the holidays, so if everyone's okay with it.
And yeah, historically, we never had two meetings in January since I've been on here, so that's been that way.
And
The
we never
winter.
even canceled them, it just wasn't.
Right. It was the way, I don't know, the charter got updated, I think, in the last how many years? I think some of that language changed maybe a little bit, but not a big deal, not really a change, so.
As I recall, and you could agree with this or not, but I think last year when you talked about this, if there was an absolute need, you would meet. Otherwise, you'd cancel those meetings. I remember, like, especially the December meeting, for some reason, maybe the budget didn't get adopted the first meeting, then you would have to meet before the end of the year to get it adopted.
Sure.
Okay, then we're looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2024-05.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Groko, seconded by Eker. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Moving on to 11E, Resolution 2024-06, revising the 2024 fee schedule for the city of Gaylord.
At the December 6th meeting, you reviewed a draft of the resolution in front of you this evening as far as the changes. In that meeting, and part of your discussion was you directed staff to contact area cities about their liquor license fees. So in your packet, there is a spreadsheet with a number of the cities in the area as far as what they charge for their fees. In addition, similar to like last year, Lori Waltz drafted a report in reference to our credit card fees, and as far as what we, the amount of monies that we have in transactions versus, the fees that we collect versus what we actually have to pay out to the credit company that we work with. So for the months of January of 2023 through November, we weren't able to, when the packet went out, we didn't have the end of December yet. But for those 11 months of last year, we had a total transaction fees that we were charged of $17,475. And our fees, we collected $6,051. So for a difference of about $11,400 that costs the city to allow people to pay with their credit cards. Now, last year, 2023, was the first year that we've ever charged any administrative fee. As you recall, we charge 1% for the utility bill payments and 3% basically for everything else, building permits and any other fees that are required. On the bottom here, Lori did a nice breakdown showing where all the transactions occur. So all these, for each individual month, she showed, what we're paid with a credit card. These numbers down on the bottom do not include any credit card fees. Those are just the actual numbers or the actual amounts that were paid with a credit card. As you can see from the list there, the utility bills is by far the highest percentage of transactions that occurred with a credit card. They represent, of that total, about 81%. So again, we charged 1% last year as an administrative fee for utility bills. I would say that's where by far, that's where we're losing money. So if I had a recommendation, I would recommend upping that 1% to possibly 3%. I think the building permit percentage is probably going to be fine, but that's where we're losing the most money. If you're trying to basically break even.
Can't we make it what we're getting charged? If some are, if it's.
The challenge we're having right now is we're being charged based on the type of credit card that's being utilized. So the fees are not universal. They're based on the type of card, whether it's a MasterCard, Visa card.
But there's software out there that,
We are looking at right now, one of the other challenges we have is it has to be compatible with our Banyan software. And there's only so many options out there for that.
If, I mean, do we have could we average what those fees are and charge that? You know, if one credit card, if a Visa is 3% and a MasterCard is 3.5, could we charge 3.25? I mean, so at least.
But it matters if it's a debit card or a credit card.
That's true.
We don't take American Express, right?
I don't think so. What we do?
We
take that?
do? Can we not take American Express?
I thought
Are
we
you
were,
Are the
kidding me?
fees really high?
some of the fees are, I thought we were talking 4% last year when
Yeah,
we had this
that's what I
conversation.
remember too, from Lori. I think she said as high as 4%, yes.
American Express, you hardly make anything. They get all the money.
I know, we went from 0 up and now after 6 months, and now we have 11 months of data. I'd be fine with going to 4%, honestly.
And removing American Express.
I'm fine with that. Not many places take that,
There's a reason.
right? Where's that, I don't see that in our actual fee schedule. Is that something just separate, or where does it say that?
What's that? Sorry.
Our,
It's-
this
That
fee,
was in there, wasn't it, the 1%?
Oh, where it's in the fee schedule?
yeah,
Yes.
where is it?
It's on page,
Is it not where?
yes, 104 at the very top.
Oh, okay. It's not, I was looking for red. I thought maybe it had changed. So if the council moves that to 4%,
For everything?
wouldn't you do it for everything? I mean, why would we? Why
Yeah,
you-
I would.
Okay. I think that would, I think if we go 3 or 3.5, I worry we're still gonna be on the wrong side of it. Not by much, perhaps,
Yeah, they're just going up. I mean,
right? I'd be for 4%, and like Jessica said, I think that's a,
And it's the reality of our world. Consumers pay that everywhere else. You're paying a credit card fee. Is everyone okay with 4%?
and to stop taking American
And
Express.
to stop taking American Express?
Lynn, you fine with that?
Yeah, I am fine with it.
I'm fine.
All right, that's my motion then. We'll move both fees, credit card fee, user fees for building permits and other permits, fees, fines, and credit card user fee for utility bills to 4%, and we will no longer accept American Express.
Second.
So we have a motion by Moko, seconded by Eker. Any other discussion? What about the aquatic center when people are using cards there? Do we want, is it across the board if they use a card for anything city-related, they're paying that for?
It's the only way we can do it.
Yeah. I was
Okay,
gonna
good.
say,
I just want to clarify that.
And then effective as of what date? Because if you have to drop American Express, you need
I gotta give a little bit of a notice. on
like,
it,
what
yeah.
would you have to do with that?
I don't know that we necessarily would have to drop Amex. We just make it a city policy not to accept it.
But I think she's suggesting, how do we let the public know that we're no longer doing it?
Oh, true.
Don't we have a Twitter or Facebook or something?
We could put it on our newsletter, I guess that's one option.
And
We could post it.
Facebook on the city's Facebook page.
Yep.
Maybe the hub.
The newsletter just went out, so.
Is that, do you know what cards are you, with? That's nothing we know of what cards are used, like how many people use American Express that? So not for the utility bills, there's not a lot of. So it shouldn't affect a lot of people then.
Put it on Facebook, and can we make it starting immediately?
What's that?
Immediately?
Yeah.
Starting tomorrow, or?
Yeah.
I think we could. We just need to get it out there as quick as we can, and we might make somebody unhappy, but if we make that change, we get it out there and get it going right away.
Okay, we'll work through that. Okay. We haven't voted yet, have we?
No.
Yeah,
or-
that's fine.
Gonna add something?
So, pardon me, was that motion just on the credit cards alone?
That was just on that. yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not on the fee schedule?
Yes, not the whole fee schedule, that's just credit cards.
And no American Express.
And no
And no
American
one-
Express. So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay.
Now we'll go on to the rest of the fee schedule.
So the other items really are already what we talked about at the last meeting, or back in December, as far as anything. You know, the water and sewer and storm sewer rates have already been approved, so those are incorporated into the fee schedule. This includes Michael Foods. Again, our contract with Michael Foods states that we can increase the water rate for them, but it has to be equivalent to whatever the residential percentage rate increase is going to be. So again, it's 3%, so that their rate has been adjusted accordingly too. The one thing on this resolution, on page 102, mistakenly forgot on the sewer, the base charge, it's currently at $15.17. On the water, I applied the 3% there, so I forgot to do it there on the sewer. So that would bring that up to $15.62.
Okay.
The other, as far as some of the new things, the pavilion rental rates,
Is that high enough? I mean, I thought there was some discussion that you guys wanted it higher.
That was my question. That doesn't seem, at
I-
least,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, just from what other venues that I've heard people say what they
I-
pay nowadays, it's say,
I mean, just from having a recent wedding in our family, this is very low for what facilities are. But I think we have a couple of things to consider. We don't have bathrooms close by yet. Once we do, then I think we'd up that. It's gonna be a little bit of a problem.
And I did talk to Ty during the park board meeting to kind of at least, if we can do some sort of screening and have maybe 2 or 3 mini biffs out there. And right next to somewhere out there, maybe for the 3 seasons, maybe we don't have to build $200,000 worth of bathrooms right away, for starters. But maybe if it's low enough cost, it's the draw, but, $900 per day was still pretty cheap, I was thinking.
And I don't know if we have to have more discussion about this because, and the other thing is the green bathrooms and the baseball field bathrooms are close by. If people are willing to walk that, I mean, we do have other options. But someone brought up to me, like, for a class reunion, they wouldn't pay that much for it. I mean, do we have to look at different fees for different events? A lot of venues charge a lot more for weddings because it's all day and there's more wear and tear. Where if you have a class reunion for, 3-4 hours, are we gonna charge the same amount?
Right.
I mean, I think we have to, it's hard because it's the beginning of the year and we have to set our fees, but I almost feel like we need to talk about this more and different fees for different events or do hourly rates for, are we gonna charge for table and chair usage? I mean, there's a lot to consider. If it's $500 a day for a wedding and includes all city-owned tables and chairs, that's very, very cheap.
Does it say that we include that?
I don't know, those are things we need to talk about.
But to rent it, nobody's gonna drag all their tables and chairs in, and then we have them doing that, and then the legs of the chairs aren't properly covered, and then we start scratching the floors, and, so there are things that I'm sure we will include, but I agree, it's like so hard to think about what we have now and what we're going to have, and then a decent fee schedule for that.
Well, you guys seem to know.
Well, $500 is, that is like really, like you said, Dawn, if it is a whole day event.
that's. very
But
nice.
if you are doing a little a family reunion or and we don't know how that use is going to go and what people are really gonna want right now.
If someone wants to hold a graduation party there, they're not gonna pay,
Yeah, $900.
Well,
thought-
that they might, what do they pay out at GPL?
I think it's $600, though, isn't it?
I think for a graduation party, people pay.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or am I
the
wrong?
GPL
Or maybe
that
I'm wrong. It's not
I don't
that
think,
much.
it's that much.
200 or 300 maybe.
Mhm.
this is
I
a lot
believe
bigger
that's what it is.
facility.
It was a band that was $600.
Yeah, I think it's a couple hundred out there.
Is that all it is? I thought it was
don't think so, because we rented it a few years ago.
Well, you could leave it at that for now, and, you know, people that wanna do a wedding there, don't they usually wanna get in there a day before, and then that would be an extra day.
Yeah,
Right.
that's an extra day.
And maybe we could just go with that approach for now.
And then we will still have, like, we don't have tables and chairs, so what will that be? And then we might have to piecemeal that as we go. Like, if you're gonna rent those, this is gonna be this much then, you know, and if you need this, it's gonna be this much.
Yeah, 'cause we have to
Until
have
we
some-
can get something really established for it.
It's a starting
Maybe we
point.
shouldn't even have this in here right now. Maybe we need
It's
to have a
really hard to
discussion
put it in there.
before.
Well, it's a starting point.
Yeah, people want something,
But
I'm
if people
sure.
wanna start booking this, you know,
Mhm.
if the city hall starts getting calls next month for June, you know, planning weddings or whatever, June, July is right around the corner.
Graduations, class reunions.
At least have something in there. There's a lot of details to work out, I'll grant you that. I don't
When,
know.
and as far as, like with that fee too, obviously, every time it's used, it's gotta be cleaned. Are we
Right.
hiring a cleaning company?
Right?
I mean, we don't have a choice, do we?
Oh, right now it'd be the
I don't
city.
think, I don't think it's right to send the city workers down there, especially if it's a weekend. Make them come in and clean
Yeah,
that
if there's an
building.
event Friday night and one Saturday
Yeah,
night.
Yeah.
Like,
That, you
Agreed.
can't put that on our guys to do that. That I do not agree with.
So there needs to be
I
a
think-
cleaning fee of like $250 or something,
Yeah, I think,
or
To see
whatever,
who-
just
Yeah,
something.
who would clean it, you know, there are
That's
people
good.
that would probably be interested in doing it, and then how much do we have to pay? I have no idea what that amount is to have somebody do it.
I mean, it's different if it's get used maybe like on a Tuesday night for some little gathering and the guys have to go down there Wednesday morning and, you know, just tidy up a little bit, but if there's a wedding on a Saturday and then expect them to go in there at some point and clean that up, no, I don't think that's part of their job responsibility. I think we need to have somebody coming in to clean it.
Agreed.
Is this a good time for me to jump in?
jump in.
I have, kind of talked to Don a little bit about this too. I have collected some sample, not policies, but applications for renting the facility from other cities that have been doing this, such as Arlington, Glencoe, et cetera, a couple others as well. And so my plan was to put together a draft for you guys' consideration and discussion for in February, because we need to get going on this. And so that, I think that would be all kind of part of this big discussion then as well. Then I'll be able to share some information as far as what other facilities are doing too, as far as their fee structure.
And then we can amend this as we go. Are we gonna have to, we have to buy, we don't have enough tables and chairs for down there, or the old city ones that were, we
Yeah.
still have the old city?
Yeah. Yeah. My opinion, we're gonna have to be looking at buying some chairs and tables. We're gonna want, and if we're gonna be renting this out, people are gonna have an expectation, and we're gonna have to have something that's gonna be nice.
And I do agree, we want our own, so that, like Lynn said, people aren't dragging in stuff and messing up the floors. We want to make sure it's
No, we don't want people doing that. And
No.
we don't want these to leave the building either.
right.
Right.
So should we, I mean, looking at the fee schedule, leave it as it is now, but maybe amend it and when we have more
Yeah.
information?
Personally, I don't see anything wrong with leaving it in there for now. We might be able to write somebody's name down, but we're not gonna guarantee anything at this point in time, because we don't have an application for them. And we don't have anything to give them as far as what it's gonna be. You know, we'll write their name down on it, but we're not gonna guarantee anything at this point in time. Until we get an application, they pay the fees, they pay all that stuff, then we will book them.
So maybe a good question to ask the committee is, those donations, are they gonna cover tables and chairs perhaps?
You could use the monies however I guess you choose. I mean, we're not covering the total cost of the project yet at this point in time.
Okay. Anything else on the fee schedule? Changes?
So I just make that one adjustment then on the base rate for the sewer, if you would,
Sure.
please. And
Okay, then
somebody
we'll-
makes a motion if they could include that change.
Okay, Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06, revising the 2023 fee schedule for the city with a change on the sewer access charge. The amount would be $15.62.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Eker, seconded by Moko. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Moving on to 11F, approve annual appointments for 2024. And you should have a list of all the different groups.
I'll make a motion to approve the mayor's appointments for 2024, excluding the one renewal appointment on HPC.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the appointments with the removal on HPC. Do we need to provide more information about that, or just leave it at that?
I don't think so, because there's only one term that's
Okay.
renewed, so I was just gonna leave it at that.
Any discussion or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Moving on to 11G, hailstorm damaged buildings.
If I may back up just a second. The HPC is one of the groups, we do not have a council representative on there right now. So I don't know if that would be an opportune time, if you're removing somebody, to get a council member on there, because it's a 7-member commission or committee.
Well, I'm fine with an empty chair until, we can spend a few months looking for somebody to sit in that position.
My suggestion is that a council member would fill that role, fill that position then. It would be an annual appointment, just like all the other council appointments. So then you'd have a council voice on that committee as well.
Well, the thing is all these committees are still supposed to be bringing it to council, and the reason is that council members don't get tired of all these other meetings. That's what wears people out, is all the extra meetings.
Right, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Steve, I do. It's operated, I don't know. Sometimes I think having two council representatives on some of these committees is doing exactly what Jessica said too, I mean.
Yeah, and I do go to some of those meetings and when I can, the HPC meetings. I know Steve goes when he can, so I mean, we do have the two of us going. And I'm willing to continue to do that, so.
You're gonna burn yourself out.
I'm an empty nester now, I'm fine.
I mean, most of them, we get the minutes, the reports, the updates. A lot of these, Steve goes to these too, and I'm fine with it. I mean, we go through the year and hopefully find somebody to jump in, plug the hole there, so.
Okay, well, we'll continue with 11G hailstorm damaged buildings.
Okay, this goes back to the October 24th hailstorm that we experienced here in Gaylord. A number of our city buildings were damaged, especially the ones that have shingled roofs. The ones that have metal roofs, there was none that were damaged to the point where there was like holes or anything in the roofs. It was just dense, and with the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust, their adjuster refers to those then as just simply cosmetic damage. They are not going to replace those metal roofs. They're not proposing that at all. But they are proposing to replace all the shingle roofs that were damaged at 100% coverage. I did look into it a little bit as well, as far as, if we go ahead and replace these roofs, is it going to have any future impact as far as our premiums? And because it was a hail storm, act of God storm, our premiums in the future will not be impacted. So that's really good news for us. So we can go ahead and, if you're inclined, to go ahead and approve the list of the roofs that were all shingled and were damaged, then we can get those replaced. If there is any roofs that we would want to upgrade to a metal roof, there is a 30% copay requirement for us. Excuse me, let me back up. Any of the metal roofs that were damaged, that were just cosmetic damaged, if we want those to be replaced, there's a 30% copay on those. If we want to upgrade any of the shingled roofs to metal roofs, we would be responsible for 100% of that difference in cost. The league, under our policy, will only replace what was there before it was damaged. That's pretty common with any insurance carrier. In respect to the baseball field lights, they refer to them as the reflective housing shroud around the light itself. Those were dented. When the adjuster was out here, all the lights were turned on and they were all working at that time. So the league at this point, they are researching to determine whether or not they can actually get that shroud yet. So they're still waiting to hear back. They believe they can. If they can't, then they will have to try to replace with something else, which could include possibly the light fixture itself.
Wasn't there talk of maybe looking into getting LED lighting out there, or not?
Well, I think the Baseball Association would be interested in that. But again, we would be responsible for any upgrades from what's there right now. We'll be responsible for the difference in cost. So they're only going to replace the shrouds.
Right, I get that, but it might, if they end up,
But what if they can't replace the shroud? If they can't find them shroud?
Then they
Then they
might
get
have to replace what's there. But again, they're not LEDs right now, so they would
Right,
not
but-
replace them with LEDs.
but if the cost, I don't know how much we're talking here.
I don't know either.
And that would be, now might be the time to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking $100,000 of LED lighting.
Certainly, we could use the monies that we would get for replacing those shrouds towards any upgrades.
That's what I think we need to know, where, the Baseball Association, and then bring it back to the council and make a decision.
Sure. I mean, they're still researching that one, so we have a little time with that. But we obviously want to keep moving on that, too. We do have a deductible of $2,500, so that would be our out-of-pocket, for sure. Just a note, I didn't put this in my memo here, but the police department, they did have one squad and a new pickup truck that we got, had some minor damage on it, so that's going to be added to this claim as well.
Our pickup truck then?
Yep, must have been sitting outside.
Oh.
Just a little bit of damage. Now, Charlie said it wasn't too much. But,
He hasn't gotten a bid on it yet.
no, but our insurance company will look at it, and
Right.
the way it works, we have property and then we have auto coverage. Our deductible, we have separate deductibles for each one. For property, it's $2,500. For auto, it's $500. We put it all under one claim. The legal requires us to pay the higher of the two deductibles. So that's how it works.
I think he'll probably find there's more damage to it than he's seeing. Once he takes it in, and
Yeah.
he'll
Get
probably
it
be
under
able to do
some
the
decent lighting.
paintless stent, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mine got a little bit of hail, and when I got the damage, from what I could see and what I was told to fix, is like, wow.
Me too. So I guess I'm looking for some direction tonight. If you're okay with going ahead and having all those roofs replaced that are shingled, again, it's 100% cost. Some of these roofs are a little bit older. They do need to be replaced anyway. The one roof, I put a picture of it in your packet. The shelter, it's down at the park, close to where that historical fireplace is at. I was wondering if you want to replace that.
There was talk of removing it perhaps.
Yes, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
So if you're, that would be the direction this would have to go. I mean, if you're going to keep it, we'd obviously want to replace the roof, but if you're going to remove it, then it's a moot point.
It's not really, it's never used.
So
And then-
tiny.
There, I mentioned in here too, that was one of the items that we didn't have on our insurance. We didn't have that listed as one of our properties, the coverage. So if we do want to replace that roof, we will be responsible for 10% of that cost. So, the other two, there was that small shed by the fire hall, and then that building off on Highway 19. So we'll get those, they are added now, but they're metal roofs, so I don't
Just
think
leave
we're
'em.
looking at replacing those. But they're on our list now as far as covered properties. It should be noted too, if these roofs, if they cost to replace all these roofs, if it exceeds $175,000, we do have to go out for sealed bids. That's by state statute. So we'll see what that cost is gonna, we'll get an estimate. We'll have to put together a plan and spec for anyways, even for the contractors to quote from. If we just have to get quotes, we're still gonna have to put something together. So we should be able to guesstimate somewhat. If we're gonna be over that threshold, then we'll go out for sealed bids.
Consensus, or is that all we're looking for here?
I think a motion is required on that.
I mean, it probably wouldn't be a terrible thing to do a motion.
Usually we'll recommend a motion, a lot of the stuff. So basically, the motion would be to go ahead and authorize to have those
Asphalt.
the shingled roofs replaced. Again, if we go out for bids, you're gonna have to award the bid later anyway.
But the motion should, with the exception of the white shelter.
Yeah, with the exception of that one, yeah.
We need a motion to replace the asphalt roofs, and housing shrouds around the ball field lights.
And this would include the pavilion then too,
Okay,
with the new roof.
with the exception of that little white shelter.
So move.
Motion by Kufal. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 2024 salary chart, 11H.
Each year, if there's a COLA, cost of living increase that impacts our salary chart, we ask the council to go ahead and approve updating that. And so in your packet, on page 116 is the proposed salary chart. The council did approve a 4% COLA increase for non-union employees, which was incorporated into the budget for this year. And so the salary chart has been adjusted accordingly. Again, the police officers that are union are not included in this chart. We have a separate chart for them because their cost of living increase by contract is different than this 4%.
Why is there somebody with the police officers again? We made that adjustment on our last year's salary chart, but yet you moved them back up.
The police officer you're talking about?
No, the person with the police officers.
Yeah, I made a mistake about leaving it there. I should have left it up where it is on grade 10. So you can cross off police officers and you can move that one back up to grade 10 for now, I guess. If you're more comfortable with that. I was going to bring that up tonight yet on a different, the next item. And actually, I guess that would be appropriate to just talk about it right now. As far as that position is concerned, the city clerk, finance officer position. We, down further in the agenda, we have the pay equity report that's due at the end of this month. And we are going to be in compliance with our current structure as far as the organization is concerned. But I would recommend that you'd consider moving the city clerk finance officer position in light of that the police officer position was moved last year. They were, last year, up until last year, they were at the same level as far as the grade and wage is concerned. And given the duties and responsibilities for that position, From an organizational standpoint, I believe that it's definitely equivalent to a police officer position. Not taking anything away from the police officer position, they're just both equally, in my mind, they should be at the same level.
I know that, but the council decided last year that they weren't. And then by you putting this back on there and stating that,
But it just goes back to, you know, there was a concern that we should do something with the wages for the police. I mean, that's where this all starts. And right away, what do we talk about? When you monkey with something, everything else looks out of whack now. And that's right where we're sitting.
But we're not out of whack, though, correct? I mean, we're within.
Well, that's it's kind of being presented to council right now, that something should be moved because something just got moved, right? Is that not, am I misunderstanding?
Well, right, but even if it isn't moved, we're still within the way.
You can leave it in there as is.
Right,
yes.
it's our own,
Yes. The adjustments were, you did agree, as I recall, to the Public Works Director and the Police Chief. Those have been moved. And there was I didn't know if we were going to be in compliance with pay equity. Turns out that we are, mainly because, and I'll say this again later, but mainly because of the new positions with the library, the swimming pool, that we had females working both of those positions, and then also the update in the police officer job description. I think they all impacted our pay equity report.
I know that, but my frustration is we've had city administrators that continue to put stuff on the agenda once council has made a decision on it because you don't agree with it. And I don't feel that's right. I mean, council already made the decision last year. It's not like it's been 10 years to move that.
I apologize, I must have just simply forgot that.
And I think we did solve that question about how the pay equity report would come out, so I think that was a question mark, but now we know the answer, so, you know, that, I think that was, even though the decision was made, it was in the back of our mind, like, we might have to change this, so.
yeah, I mean, it just goes back to when you start moving positions up, 1, 2Z, 3Z, now everything else looks kind of skewed. And now you feel like, well, we gotta move all the rest up. Well, then, like I said in the beginning, we should just did a updated compensation study. Because as soon as you start cherry picking, which is what happened, 10 years ago, whatever that was, everything gets out of whack. And, you know, we address one thing at a time, like with try to negotiate against ourselves with a 3-year police union contract when we're only into it 1 year. And here we are. Everybody should be at the top, you know, that's where this ends. Everybody should be at the top. Everybody wants to be a pay grade 20, you know? And it's just, I'm not against bumping it up one level if that's what you guys want to do, but you know, that's the sense I got last year when we started monkeying with this stuff. It's not gonna stop. You can come back 6 months later, we'll have it reviewed next year. Guess what? There's some misalignments, nothing ever goes down, everything's gotta go up. And then we raised the grid by 4 to 7%. I just know how these things work. Any other thoughts, or Lynn, or Scott?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. So it seems like if we don't raise that position and we leave it where it was, we still, as far as pay equity goes, we'd be fine,
According
correct?
to our consultant, yes.
Was it reviewed, did they have old information, or did they have the new information?
They have the most up-to-date information. Again, the report is effective 12/31 last year. So whatever where we were at last year,
As in a week ago
with the
last year?
wage structure, yes.
Okay.
My thought is to leave it. We're in compliance. We kind of made this decision last year. We got the 4% in there and go with that. Is what my thought is.
I'm fine with that. I mean, we did talk about it, and
So currently the city clerk position, finance officer is at 10? Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay. So then the resolution that's in here is incorrect.
Right, we'd have to make that adjustment. That'll be on the next item.
Okay.
So how many positions did we move? Technically, all the police went up, right?
police one.
Yep.
It's just them.
And
Public Works Director and the Police Chief.
Yep.
so half of our city employees,
Well,
half of our full-time city employees,
almost,
right? I mean, that's my point. You can't monkey with it, with a system more than that. I mean, it's hard to look at the rest of the grid and go, well, you can almost make a case to bump everybody up now. And that's what I was afraid of, but it's okay. I mean, that position, that's the financial, let's say, I don't know how it's exactly worded here, but financial officer, clerk?
City Clerk, Finance Officer.
It's not a hard case to make, that probably should be bumped up, looking at what the council did, but. I don't know. We got the 4% in the budget, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think when we start messing around with the pay grades, like you said, so that's fine, we can make a case that it should be bumped up, but then what, you just bump it up a grade, and for what reason? Just because we think we should bump it up a grade? I mean, what?
And that's, if everything's relative, that's why you move the grid 10% if we need to move it, And I know we wouldn't have got there with the officers and for.
Right.
I get it, but this creates another problem. So when was the council gonna have the next compensation, review done? When are we thinking about that?
Well, you'd agreed to not do one in '23, so I guess I haven't brought it forward to ask if you want to do it in '24 here.
Just, not a full-blown, but an update or what?
Right, that's what we've been doing.
So did you make a motion?
No, I haven't, because I don't. We'd have to make the motion for that resolution, subject to the change of the one.
Yeah, that's the next item on the agenda. So this particular item is just approving the chart as is.
But it can't.
But it would be with one correction.
Yeah, I put this off to the right there, what positions are in those grades, just so you know.
Okay, but that's not the official salary
The
chart.
chart is kind of stands alone, really. But if you want to, you can move that position, just for your own peace of mind too, to grade 10.
Okay, well, then we need a motion to approve the 2024 salary chart.
I'll make that motion with that correction there, moving that position back to 10. I mean, if it matters, but
Okay, we have a motion by Kufal. Do we have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Eker. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. So we'll move on to 11I, Resolution 2024-07, implementing the 2024 employee compensation.
So then you'll need to make that adjustment there. So it'd be grade 13, step 6. Excuse me, grade 10, step 6, and the hourly wage would be $34.01.
so we need a motion to approve resolution 2024-07, implementing the 2024 employee compensation with the change for the finance officer to be at grade 10, step 6, 3401.
So moved.
Motion by Eker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kufal. Any further discussion? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried. Since we already talked about this, can we remove 11J from the pay equity?
Yeah, I don't have too much more to report on that. I gave the reasons why we were able to be in compliance, and I think those are truly why. So this report is due to the state every 3 years, so it's nice that we don't have to do it annually. But according to our consultant at David Brown's, we will be in compliance.
Okay.
So on your table is the information.
Sure.
Part of the reason that the council has to approve, it is required the council has to approve this. And then the mayor is asked, on behalf of the council, would be signing off on the compliance report.
Oh, we actually need a motion to approve the report?
Yep, it's a 2023 pay equity report.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Moko, seconded by Eker. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving along, we wait for closing comments. I'm going to make a motion to close the meeting, or I'm sorry, I'm going to move to recess. To have a closed meeting. It shall be closed pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05 subdivision 3 to evaluate the performance review of Steve Helgett, city administrator.
Yeah, you can just do it like that. You don't have to have a motion.
Yeah, I realized that after I said it. I was like,
All good.